There are stories about every hero, how they became great. Most have one thing in common.
Nice booty.
So if there's one genre of entertainment that's been beating over our collective heads over the past few years, it would be the superhero genre. Although ranging back since the 1920s with the Mark of Zorro movie, heroes have become a massive part of our culture, almost becoming a modern-day mythos equivalent to older tales like Hercules or Odysseus. Although there's been a major saturation of superhero media, in recent years for broader audiences, and despite what you may think are its strengths and weaknesses, heroes are here to stay. Although heroes do come in many shapes and sizes, the actual term hero is one we'll be discussing today. Hi, I'm TrashCom, and welcome to my channel, where if you go look at my video history, you'll be tilting your head wondering what the hell do I do? So last time I talked about anime and length, it was on Yu-Gi-Oh! Reigns. This time we're stepping into something that falls a bit more in line with shonen tropes of a battle-esque manga, My Hero Academia. Or for those who prefer pure Japanese, Boku no Hero Academia. Damn weeaboos. Granted, if you're watching this video, then you're probably already familiar with the whole concept of My Hero Academia. You know that it's nearing the end of its second season. But for the sake of those who have been under a rock, My Hero Academy is an anime based off the manga with the same name, following the exploits of one Izuku Midoriya.
This is the story of how I become the world's greatest hero.
And we follow our greatest hero as he goes to Hero Academy known as UA, or UA, thank you for the clever writing there, where young and up-and-coming youngsters can train their inborn superpowers, or quirks as they're called, to become heroes. So essentially, we've combined the concepts of X-Men and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, except without having a character using cards to fight the bad guys.
What is it with you and cards?
If there's one thing that's become prominent in hero media, most heroes get gifted with a power or have it thrust upon them. And in a world filled with the majority of the population getting a special ability, it's not hard to imagine that once the world had gotten used to these kinds of individuals becoming more the norm, that there would be a means of training people to use their powers in more responsible ways. And if there's one thing about the powers, or quirks I mean, there is quite a variety from what we can see, even in just the main cast. You've got some pretty standard powers such as super speed, strength, control over ice and fire, and you've got some rather weird powers? Belly button lasers, shooting tape from your elbows.
That would be ridiculous.
Having a crow shadow act as your warrior, and
You can eat my sticky butt!
I regret nothing. Such colorful characters! And I sincerely mean that. The cast is very diverse. They certainly pass the silhouette test, as the main cast themselves have diverse body types and shapes. This is mostly due to the quirks that the students and the people themselves have, as they can have rather monstrous forms, which can lead to some very unique designs and concepts for characters. Not to mention, it does make them stand out from the usual bland casting of anime.
It's so boring.
But now they thoroughly wasted 3 minutes of your time, let's talk about what makes this anime not suck. Well, aside from the fights that can be jaw-droppingly awesome, and honestly can rival that of Dragon Ball Z in some respects, well, at least one does.
Holy shit! Is that even legal?
What truly makes me enjoy this anime, and what doesn't make it suck, is the reconstruction of hero tropes. Not deconstruction, mind you, but rather a reconstruction. A deconstruction of the hero aspect would be more towards breaking down what a superhero society to act is, a bit of commentary, and showing the issues of a structure of a world that has buildings being destroyed by people with new quirks appearing. Think like One Punch Man in that vein. Now, you could argue that in My Hero Academia, we eventually get to something that could be considered deconstruction. Once again, this is debatable, and you could argue that we do see a bit of deconstruction of the hero's power with Izuku, since throughout both the first and second season of My Hero Academia, we see such a backlash of the power that Izuku receives from the world's greatest hero, All Might, constantly breaking his arms and legs to the point where we later learn that it gets to the point where he could lose all functionality in his arms. In contrast to this, if you look towards more modern heroes of, say, Marvel and DC, most of them tend not to have to deal with such heavy repercussions when dealing with just attempting to adapt to their powers. For Flash, we see that he's able to adapt to his powers to the point of already saving a life. Izuku, on the other hand, has to go through a vigorous amount of training to even accept the power, otherwise his limbs would just snap off. The will for wanting to become a hero and to live up to the expectations of All Might drive him to push himself. And that's to a fault. One that I can admire and actually relate to, as at one point or another we have idealized and wish to emulate the best we can to people that we like, even to a detriment to ourselves. And even then, when Izuku gets the power, as I said, he still has to train in order to even use a small fraction of it in order not to constantly end up in the hospital, or getting kissed by an old lady.
Give me some sugar!
Kisses on the cheek! You smell like Bengay!
There's a lot I could talk about with the series. For example, the fact that Izuku learns to work around his powers and uses intelligence and analytical abilities to fight against the hothead Bakugo in one of the earlier episodes of the show. The idea of a character using more than just their supernatural power isn't anything new, but it's refreshing to see that in hero-based media use more than just their powers to fight. It shows that the powers don't just make the man, and that they don't just rely on them, and I find that admirable, especially in heroes. But that isn't to say that just relying on the powers themselves is a detriment to the show. After all, going back to the character Bakugo, he's able to use his explosive powers to a very effective manner, even using them in creative ways, such as using the force of his explosion to propel his movements and to get out of the way. There's a lot of creativity and ideas here with the various sources of superpowers, some with a little bit of comedic effect as well.
Well, that was quite shocking.
This anime does have some really impressive aspects to it. Its setting, action scenes, and some very memorable characters, the latter being really impressive since there's a large cast of characters that's growing larger and larger as the manga itself goes on. Although I do suppose that the latter is a bit of a problem, the ever-expansive cast. You've got the students that are in the same class as Izuku, you've got the pro-heroes, the teachers, you've got the villains, and then you've got all the other characters, most of which do tend to appear every now and then, and this cast seems to be growing larger and larger. This is the kind of one of the issues that I have with large casts of characters. There's nothing wrong with having a large cast, but it will tend to be a bit of an overload to viewers and readers since there can be quite a bit of history behind the characters, which can be an issue and make it a bit of a narrative nightmare, especially if it does lag on a character that you don't particularly care about. But at this point in time, that's just me having an unfounded fear.
Or is it?
But what isn't unfounded is that one of the worst cliches you can ever have in a shonen anime. The tournament arc. I did say in my last anime that doesn't sect video that just because tropes are there, that doesn't automatically make it bad. But even then, I can like or dislike tropes if I get an overexposure of it, and the tournament trope kind of does it. So let me tell you about my issues with tournament arcs. More often than not, tournament arcs can be stretched for odd reasons. They can be used as a cliched means of allowing a character development for underused characters and introduce new characters, who can become regulars if there's enough fan support to get behind them, and it can be used to have pretty out there fights. Which, while good, has become one of the biggest and worst tropes that has ever plagued so many action-oriented anime. I wouldn't make too much of a stink on this, however what really gets my gears grinding is that it makes up a good portion of the second season thus far. Don't get me wrong, the fight between Izuku and another character, Todoroki, is impressive, what with all the ice attacks being swatted away with a flick of a finger, but there's something about just being in an arena that is boring to me. I think this goes to my own personal bias, as I am a fan of there being backgrounds and having such environments to be used in the fights. For example, take the first season near the ending of it. During when a villain attack when the class is separated, Izuku and two other of his classmates are in a water-based recreational center. And Izuku uses some basic science of water and makes use of the environment to actually beat the villains, or grunts in this case, and that's awesome to me. It's more than just using flashy powers and makes use of the environment along with the special abilities of the characters. It's a good blend and it's really damn cool. And that just makes me a little mad at the tournament portion of the second season, since it's just a flat amount of concrete. Now granted, for the fight between Bakugo and another character, Uraka, a girl who has powers related to gravity, it actually is a pretty interesting battle since it actually uses the dull location to its advantage. Bakugo's explosions destroying the ring and Uraka using her powers as a means to make the debris work to her advantage in the fight, even though her quirk isn't a battle-oriented one. As I stated, I do enjoy use of the environment. I remind of an old quote from the Book of Five Rings from the one and only Musashi Miyamoto. Use your environment well. Always strive to keep your opponent backpedaling into the obstacles to limit his foothold and in movement, i.e. give forward pressure to the use of environment when you fight. Not only is it logical to use the surrounding environment to your advantage, but it can also make a fight look a lot more impressive as well as make the combatants look a lot more intelligent since they're using their heads to gain an advantage. Luckily, My Hero Academia actually makes the tournament arc really bearable, and actually somewhat enjoyable. Not only due to the fact that it only lasts a few episodes, and considering the fact that the rest of the season is going to be focused outside of it, we actually have ended the tournament rather quickly, so it doesn't dwell on it like most other anime. So congratulations, My Hero Academia, you made it through the most BS anime trope of all time. Congratulations! So what else is there to say? No! Oh, yeah, there are some really deep moments, some real glimmers of deep character development. For the most part in the first season, we focus on Izuku since he wanted to strive to become a hero, despite the fact that he didn't have a quirk initially, a rarity in this fictional world. And in season 2, we get to see more in-depth motivations for other characters. For example, Todoroki's past appears to be tied to his powers, his hesitation to use his fire powers due to his relationship with his parents. There are a few key insights to a number of characters in this series, and at this point we're getting the groundwork for some really deep character development that should appear with the continuation of the current season. So here's hoping that the rest of season 2 will be just as awesome and that we get a season 3, especially since we're going into the hero killer arc.
That's creepy.
So if you like superheroes, I would definitely recommend the series. If you're a fan of shonen anime, I would recommend the series. If you like over-the-top fight scenes with superpowers, I would recommend the series. Is it perfect? Oh no, it's not. But it's still entertaining and it certainly doesn't suck. So, I'm Trash Kamen, and remember,
Go beyond!
why?